There are places on Earth that glow, bend, explode, or actively try to kill you. Our planet is a gallery of natural wonders that feel almost impossible. Some can take you out in minutes, others feel like they shouldn't exist at all. But all of them prove that nature is far stranger and more creative than we think. Number 50. The shoreline of Ra Atoll in the Maldives looks like it was painted with fallen stars. They glow with a ghostly blue light every time a wave breaks, and it's all thanks to an advanced biological defense mechanism. It's like an SOS signal, potentially attracting larger predators to eat the agitators that are bothering the plankton, moving from the open ocean to the underground tunnels and the secrets of a lost civilization. Number 49. Yucatan cenotes are found in a hidden network of flooded caves, and they're like a vault full of secrets. The bones of Ice Age beasts and Mayan relics are all here in crystal clear water. Ancient Mayans viewed these giant sinkholes as portals to the underworld, tossing offerings into them. Now they form underwater museums deep beneath the jungle floor. Speaking of water, there's a lake in Africa that looks like nothing you've seen before. Number 48. Have you ever heard of Lake Retba? Me neither before making this video. It was once so salty and full of microbes that it looked like a giant bowl of strawberry milk. The lake was so vital to the local economy that harvesters spent hours collecting salt. The microbes produced a natural sunscreen that protects the worker's skin from the blazing African sun. Good tip for the next time I go on a fishing trip. Now let's head north to a Canadian lake that changes its appearance depending on the weather. Number 47. In the height of summer, Spotted Lake's bed in British Columbia crystallizes into a polka dot landscape of colorful mineral puddles. Just look at that! These pools are packed with minerals, from magnesium sulfate to traces of silver and titanium, and that comes with some benefits. First Nations people use it to help ease the symptoms of arthritis. But Earth's strangest shapes aren't always carved by water. Number 46. Poland's crooked forest holds a mystery. Every single tree is bent at a 90-degree angle, and nobody alive knows why. Theories range from human manipulation to snow damage. Despite this, regrowth experiments fail to copy the angular trees, leaving the forest an unsolved botanical enigma. And that's not the only weird thing Earth throws up. Number 45. In Namibia, millions of barren, red earth rings pockmark the desert. It's like a massive game of connect the dots. The formations help regulate moisture in one of the harshest environments on the planet, and the patterns span thousands of square miles, acting like Earth's natural version of crop circles, all managed by sand termite colonies. From fairy circles to lakes where the water is so toxic it creates a separate world. And they're not where you'd expect them to be. Number 44. Hidden deep beneath the waves of the Red Sea are underwater lakes so dense and salty that even submarines can float on their surface. The pools are almost entirely devoid of oxygen and contain high concentrations of heavy metals. But somehow, tube worms still thrive there. They've evolved to survive in an environment that would kill almost any other creature on the planet. But you don't need to dive into one of Earth's deadliest seas to find water that makes no sense at all. Number 43. Every year, massive wheels of ice, wider than a city block, spin perfectly in the Presumpscot River near the town of Westbrook, Maine. These discs slowly grind against the shoreline until they're perfectly circular. Some discs can reach hundreds of feet across, large enough to take over the whole river. Now, let's look at some even weirder waves. Number 42. Asperitas clouds. Chaotic, swirling waves that grab everyone's attention, except they're not in the water, they're in the sky above us. Made from water vapor, Asperitas clouds were only officially classified in 2017, despite being documented for years by amateur cloud spotters. They look pretty trippy, like something from a science fiction movie, but they don't pose any danger and actually signify a stabilizing atmosphere. If you like these geography deep dives, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Nature did all the hard work, I'm just pointing at it. Now, let's head to America's west coast and its strange water. Number 41. Off the coast of California, the ocean can be a deep, rusty crimson by day, only to explode into neon blue sparks when the sun goes down. Algae blooms can become toxic, which is a nightmare for marine life. But at night, some flash bright blue when agitated by the waves. The biohazard turns into a stunning light show. The sea isn't the only place where water suddenly bursts into color, though. Number 40. For a few weeks every year, the Caño Cristales riverbed erupts into a psychedelic display of colors. Thanks to aquatic plants, the water is flooded by reds, yellows, and greens, like a flowing rainbow. The plants absorb sunlight, and then it's their chance to shine. But the window to see this show is incredibly small. The river is only like this for a few months each year, vanishing entirely during the dry seasons when the plants go dormant. Now, to a place where the Earth's crust is so thin that the landscape looks like it belongs on another world. Number 39. The ground at the Dallol hydrothermal fields in Ethiopia is a neon nightmare of acid pools and salt chimneys. It looks more like an alien outpost than a place on Earth. It's one of the most remote and inhospitable places on the Earth's surface. Temperatures there regularly hit 115 degrees Fahrenheit, but somehow life still exists there. Well, if you can call tiny microbes life. From one extreme temperature to another. Number 38. Imagine blood flowing from the Earth. It sounds like a horror film, but in Antarctica, it's real. Well, kind of. Blood falls is the result of an iron-rich liquid pouring out of a reservoir trapped deep under the ice for nearly 2 million years. It's been sealed off from sunlight and oxygen the entire time. When the liquid hits the air, the iron oxidizes, turning the glacier blood red, and probably terrifying the local penguins. From ice that bleeds red, let's move to stone sharp enough to cut. Number 37. In Madagascar, there's a forest where the trees are made of razor-sharp limestone needles, sharp enough to slice through flesh. The jagged landscape of Tsingy de Bemaraha National Park creates a natural fortress that is nearly impossible to navigate. But the Tsingy's do come in handy. Lemurs use the stone blades to escape predators, and some species have evolved to live entirely atop the serrated peaks. However, some landscapes don't just cut, they explode. Number 36. The Great Geysir in Hydrothermal, Western Iceland, is the OG water spurter. It's been hurling boiling water 200 feet into the air since 1150. It even gave its name to every other geyser in the world. While its sibling, Stroker, now steals the show with more frequent eruptions, Geysir remains the historical heart of Iceland's volcanic power. Now let's travel to the coldest desert on Earth. Number 35. A desert in sub-zero temperatures? It's true. Parts of Antarctica's dry valleys haven't seen rain in millions of years. It's one of the driest places on Earth, with almost no humidity to speak of. Thanks to this and the dry winds that blow through the region, the dry valleys are home to over 6,000 lakes. Researchers have even found bacteria living out here. Life finds a way to adapt. Now imagine a lake that drains itself. Number 34. Every summer, the Lost Lake in Oregon's Willamette National Park just vanishes. A massive hole in the lake bed acts like a giant bathtub drain, sucking the entire body of water into subterranean lava tubes. It refills via the next season's snowmelt, cycling through its existence with mechanical precision. Attempts to plug the holes with rocks and debris have failed, so every year, the lake just packs up and leaves. But sometimes water doesn't disappear, it just hides. Number 33. The Lençóis Maranhenses in Brazil has endless white sand dunes that hide thousands of crystal-clear lagoons. Each one is connected, and the rivers run through the area. And that means fish thrive, despite the dunes and soaring temperatures. In dry seasons, they actually bury deep into the dunes, searching out wet layers of mud. Now trade blinding white sand and hidden lagoons for a coastline forged in fire. Number 32. Reynisfjara in southern Iceland is a black, sandy beach surrounded by towering stone pillars that look like they were carved by giants. The sand is volcanic in origin, created by lava meeting the cold Atlantic. Despite its Instagrammable beauty, the beach is famous for sneaker waves. These unpredictable and powerful waves can surge inshore, wiping out unsuspecting tourists. Between 2007 and 2025, it led to 6 deaths and 12 emergency rescues. But water doesn't need waves to be deadly. Number 31. Flash floods carved Arizona's Antelope Canyon into narrow, twisting stone corridors. It took thousands of years for the surging water to shape the walls. Despite the rugged terrain and blistering heat, it's created a popular tourist attraction, but it's also still fraught with danger. During monsoon season, sudden floods can turn the canyon into a deadly trap for hikers. But water isn't the only thing that can turn a landscape into a danger zone. Number 30. Cotopaxi, part of the Andes, is one of the world's highest active volcanoes, rising nearly 19,300 feet. Its perfectly shaped snow-capped peak hides a violent temper. Eruptions can rapidly melt its summit glaciers, unleashing massive mud flows known as lahars that race into nearby valleys at more than 62 miles an hour. Its volatile nature means that over 300,000 people are at risk each time it erupts. From glowing seas and buried cave systems to bleeding ice and spinning ice rivers, Earth's hidden natural wonders are easy to overlook, but impossible to forget once you see them. And we're not even halfway through this tour. Number 29. Sundung in Vietnam, the world's largest cave by volume, is so massive that it has its own internal jungle, a flowing river, and even its own weather system. The chambers are large enough to house a 40-story skyscraper. Clouds form inside the cave due to the temperature differences, supporting unique ecosystems that are found nowhere else on the planet. Despite its size, it was only discovered in 1990 by a local man searching for wood, and then he forgot its location. It took until 2008 to rediscover the entrance, and since then, it's become a popular tourist attraction. Next, a frozen surface hiding explosive heat below. Number 28. Trolltunga, the troll's tongue, is a thin, flat slab of rock hanging out over a 2,300-foot drop, offering a view so terrifying it makes your knees buckle. It was formed by Ice Age scouring that sheared the rock away from the mountain. Despite its solid appearance, it shifts slightly in high winds, so probably best not to stand too close to the edge. Now trade open air and sheer drops for danger sealed under the ice. Number 27. Iceland's Vatnajökull is a massive sheet of ice that is also a ticking time bomb. It sits directly on top of some of the planet's most dangerous volcanic furnaces. When these volcanoes erupt, they melt the ice from below, creating massive subglacial lakes. That leads to sudden and catastrophic floods that can wipe out everything in their path. In 1934, one subglacial eruption spewed out 3.5 cubic miles of water over the course of 3 days. Even though it comes with risk, the glacier is so spectacular that it's been used as a filming location for James Bond and Game of Thrones. Let's continue the underground theme, this time on the opposite hemisphere. Number 26. Inside South Africa's Caño caves, ancient dripstones have grown into massive structures. They've been slowly expanding since before the last ice age, but it's not just the dripstones that are an attraction. The walls of the cave are adorned with Bushman paintings, dating back over 4,000 years. The very first guide to navigate the entire cave system claimed to have walked over 29 hours, estimating he covered 15.5 miles. And even today, explorers are finding even more caves to support his theory. But in another part of the world, the story isn't hidden underground. It's carved straight into the open air. Number 25. The snaking Colorado River carved the mile-deep Grand Canyon over millions of years. Despite containing more than 1,000 caves, only 335 have been recorded, and just one is open to the public. Beside its stunning views, the canyon is home to the village of Supai, the most remote community in the lower 48 states. It's only accessible by an 8-mile hike, helicopter, or mule trek, from the lowest parts of the earth to some of the highest. Number 24. Chile's Torres del Paine is like something from a nightmare. 3 jagged granite spires rise straight out of the earth like teeth. The tallest of the trio is almost 8,200 feet high. The peaks form the centerpiece of the national park and have become a major attraction for climbers from all over the world. The surrounding ice blue lakes just add to the experience. The landscape is one of the most rugged and beautiful in the southern hemisphere for a reason. While some landscapes tower above you, others drop away without warning. Number 23. Arizona's Horseshoe Bend is often referred to as the east rim of the Grand Canyon, and it's one of the most recognized river bends in the world. The Colorado River carved a dizzying U-shaped path into the sandstone rock. The best vantage point looking down on the bend comes courtesy of a 1,000-foot drop. But that hasn't put off tourists, though. The nearby city of Page started charging for parking, and since 2019, they've raked in over $20.3 million in fees. Now trade a 1,000-foot fall for falling water. Number 22. Seljalandsfoss in Iceland was formed by glacial melt flowing over volcanic rock. creating a waterfall that drops 197 feet. A natural cave behind the falls allows visitors to walk into a chamber directly behind the rushing water. In winter, the spray freezes solid, turning the entire area into a massive ice cathedral. Plans to build nearby were in place, but thankfully they were scaled back. Currently, Lençóis remains unobstructed, but in another part of the world, water becomes something far more dangerous. Number 21. Grand Prismatic Spring in Yellowstone is a giant pool of neon colors, and filled with water hot enough to boil a human in minutes. At 370 feet in diameter, it's the third largest hot spring in the world. Temperatures reach up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, creating an environment where heat-loving microbes thrive. Those microbes form distinct color bands, turning the spring into a visible heat map. Now, trade geothermal heat for melting glaciers. Number 20. Just 12 miles from downtown Juneau, Alaska, you'll find Mendenhall Glacier. And if you're feeling brave, you can crawl inside and discover glowing blue tunnels made of ancient ice. Kayakers can paddle into ice caves that melt and reform seasonally, meaning no two visitors ever see the exact same formation. Sadly, thanks to climate change, the glacier is retreating, 1.7 miles since 1929. Recently, the glacier retreated from Mendenhall Lake for the first time in modern history, and while the ice retreats, the ocean is pushing forward. Number 19. Despite their biblical name, the 12 Apostles are a group of limestone stacks off the coast of Victoria, Australia. Despite the name, there were only 9 towers, and only 7 remain today. The ocean is slowly eroding them, and in 2005, a 160-foot stack collapsed into the water. Due to the waves constantly eating at the cliff face, new stacks are expected to form in the future, though. In another part of the world, the danger isn't from collapsing rock. It comes from standing too close to the edge. Number 18. Norway's Presumpscot is a steep cliff that juts out over the fjord with a sheer drop of nearly 2,000 feet. It was formed when ice expanded inside rock crevices, slowly forcing the stone apart. The dramatic views draw huge numbers of visitors each year, including base jumpers. The trail leading to the cliff has been reinforced with the help of Nepalese Sherpas to handle the increased traffic. Next, a cliff that looks like it's frozen mid-motion. Number 17. Imagine a massive wave frozen in place, except it's made of granite. Wave Rock in Australia is a 50-foot tall cliff shaped by chemical weathering over millions of years. Dark bands of lichen sharpen the illusion of a breaking wave rising from the desert floor. Local indigenous tribes believe it was created by a giant rainbow serpent dragging its body across the land, giving the site deep cultural significance. Elsewhere, the Earth never stops moving. Number 16. For thousands of years, Italy's Stromboli has been regularly shooting glowing rocks into the night sky for over 2,000 years. Rising just over 3,000 feet tall, it's one of the most active volcanoes on the planet. Its frequent eruptions are visible from across the island and the surrounding sea, earning it the nickname the Lighthouse of the Mediterranean. But not all of Earth's power comes from heat. Number 15. Perito Moreno Glacier is a massive wall of blue ice in Argentina that stretches 19 miles. Its immense weight pushes into a fjord, forming a natural ice dam. Rising water pressure eventually forces the dam to rupture, sending tons of ice and water crashing into the lake and the surrounding river network. These dramatic collapses have become a major draw for tourists, boosting the local economy in Patagonia. From collapsing glaciers to a fire that won't die. Number 14. A man-made mistake turned a desert floor into a 200-foot wide pit of fire that has been burning non-stop for over half a century. Darvasa crater in Turkmenistan was created when a drilling operation collapsed into an underground gas pocket. To prevent the release of poisonous methane, the crater was intentionally set on fire, expecting to burn out within days. Instead, the gas reserves below were far larger than anticipated, and the fire is still burning decades later, earning the site its nickname, the Gates of Hell. But not all destruction is intentional. Some of it is caused by one storm at a time. Number 13. Off the coast of Scotland stands a 450-foot sandstone stack known as the Old Man of Hoy. From certain angles, its shape resembles a human figure, giving the formation its name. Powerful winds, tides, and the North Atlantic waves slowly carved the surrounding cliffs away, leaving the tower isolated in the sea. Those same forces continue to erode it today, making its eventual collapse inevitable. But while some landscapes are being worn away, others are slowly being built up. Number 12. Turkey's Pamukkale literally means cotton castle, and it's easy to see why. The hillside is made of travertine, freshwater limestone formed by mineral-rich hot springs. As the water flows downhill, it deposits layers of white mineral, creating terraces that look like a frozen waterfall. 17 hot springs feed the formation, with temperatures reaching up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Because of its natural beauty, Pamukkale was recognized as a World Heritage Site in 1988. But some waterfalls don't shimmer quietly. They drown everything around them. Number 11. Iguazu Falls is a chain of nearly 300 waterfalls on the border of Argentina and Brazil. Together, they make up the largest waterfall system in the world, and the roar is so loud it can be heard from miles away. The longest drop is a staggering 269 feet. According to local legend, the falls were created when a deity planned to marry a woman who instead fled with her human lover by canoe. Enraged, the deity split the San Antonio River, forming Iguazu Falls and condemning the couple to plunge over the edge forever. We've seen volcanoes firing on schedule, glaciers that burst without warning, cliffs waiting to fall, and caves large enough to create their own ecosystems. And now, it's time for the top 10 natural wonders that will take your breath away. Number 10. The water of the Rio Tinto in Spain is so iron-rich that it looks like a river of blood. More than 5,000 years of mining, extracting things like copper, silver, and gold, have made the water extremely acidic, capable of dissolving heavy metals and raising concerns about pollution. Yet microorganisms still survive here. NASA studies these extremophiles because the river's chemistry closely resembles that of Mars, offering clues about how life might exist beyond Earth. But not all of Earth's strangest waters are hostile. Number 9. The Marietta Islands in Mexico were formed thousands of years ago by volcanic activity. In the 1900s, the area was used for military testing, which helped create the caves and collapsed rock formations, including the famous Hidden Beach. As the islands grew popular, tourism caused serious ecological damage, including the destruction of the coral reefs. In 2016, the Mexican government actually banned visitors entirely. Today, the only regular visitors are sea turtles, seabirds, and migrating humpback whales. And in another remote corner of the world, nature reveals itself on a much larger scale. Number 8. Standing at 741 feet tall, Guyana's Caño Falls is one of the most powerful single-drop waterfalls in the world. More than 23,000 cubic feet of water flows over the edge each second. Although far less famous than Niagara or Victoria Falls, Caño is significantly taller than both, hidden deep within the rainforests of Guyana. Now let's swap crashing water for a world shaped by fire. Number 7. In Iceland, a vast carpet of moss covers jagged rocks, making the landscape look otherworldly. The Eldron lava field in the south of the country was formed during a massive eruption in 1783 and 84 and covers more than 218 square miles. Its alien terrain was later used by NASA to train Apollo astronauts. Despite being born from fire, the moss that covers the field is extremely fragile, taking decades to recover if damaged. Number 6. New Mexico holds a secret deep underground. Carlsbad Caverns include a large limestone room that is almost 4,000 feet long, the largest chamber in North America. Stalagmites and mineral formations line the floors and walls, built up slowly over millions of years. And every evening, hundreds of thousands of bats pour out of the cave entrance as they head into the desert to hunt. Let's leave the underground behind. The next place is being built in real time. Number 5. Hawaii is a land of fire, and Kilauea proves it. With a name that means spewing, Kilauea is located on Hawaii's Big Island and is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. It's erupted more than 60 times since 1983 alone. Each eruption sends lava into the sea, adding new land to the coastline, a process that shows no sign of stopping. Next, an extreme weather event unlike anywhere else on Earth. Number 4. Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela is hit by a relentless storm that unleashes thousands of lightning strikes almost every night. Known as the Catatumbo lightning, these storms can last up to 9 hours, producing as many as 160 lightning strikes per minute. The phenomenon is driven by winds moving across the warm lake and surrounding swamps, while nearby mountains trap heat and moisture. The result is a near-constant electrical storm, proof that in this place at least, lightning doesn't just strike twice. Let's move from electrical storms to exposed volcanic heat in an unexpected place. Number 3, Saunders Island sits in the South Atlantic about 1,200 miles from Antarctica. And dominating the island is Mount Michael, an active stratovolcano with a rare, persistent lake of molten lava. Only a handful of volcanoes on Earth display this phenomenon, with surface temperatures reaching nearly 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite the extreme heat, Saunders Island still has a surprising range of wildlife, including penguins, elephant seals, and millions of seabirds. Volcanic ash regularly affects nesting sites, but the ecosystem continues to recover, an example of how life adapts even in the most hostile environments. But extreme heat isn't the only condition life has adapted to. Number 2. The waters of Lake Bogoria in Kenya are a boiling, highly alkaline mix capable of killing most animals. Conditions are so extreme that dead birds are often naturally preserved by heat and mineral deposits. Nearly 200 hot springs and geysers are scattered across the lake's shoreline, constantly feeding this hostile environment. But somehow, millions of pink flamingos gather at the lake to feed, and tilapia swim in the toxic soup. But it isn't just wildlife that can adapt to extreme environments. Finally, number 1. On the island of New Britain in Papua New Guinea sits Tavurvar, an active volcano that dominates the surrounding landscape. In 1994, a major eruption buried the nearby town of Rabaul under ash and pumice. Residents had just 19 hours to evacuate, but emergency drills and planning kept casualties low. 5 people were killed, including one struck by lightning. Despite the risk, people continue to live in the danger zone. Many now use the volcano's heat to cook food and provide warmth, rebuilding their lives around the same thing that once destroyed their home. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on MatPack.